The Kraken. The sea was an endless expanse of fury that night, its waves as wild as a beast unleashed. The storm rider groaned and screamed under the assault, its timbers bending like the bones of a dying creature. Rain lashed the deck in relentless sheets, and the wind howled through the rigging, carrying with it a deep, mournful wail, as if the ocean itself grieved for what was to come. At the helm, Captain Elias gripped the wheel with white-knuckled determination, his weathered face a mask of defiance. Salt crusted his beard, and his cloak flapped wildly around him, but his eyes remained fixed on the horizon. A lesser man might have quailed at the storm, but Elias was not one to bend. He had been waiting for this night, preparing for it, dreading it. "The Kraken," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the storm. "Tonight we finish this." The stories of the Kraken were the stuff of nightmares. Sailors spoke of its tentacles like tree trunks, its maw large enough to swallow a ship whole, its intelligence as dark and unfathomable as the sea itself. Elias had seen it once, years ago, a shadow beneath the waves, an arm reaching from the abyss to claim a vessel and drag it screaming into the deep. That vision had haunted his dreams, a memory that refused to fade, sharpening his resolve to one day face the beast that had eluded him. He had chosen his crew carefully, men desperate enough or foolish enough to join him on this quest. They were promised riches beyond imagining, the treasures of every ship the Kraken had ever destroyed. But now, as the sea turned against them and the night grew darker than death itself, the promise of gold seemed distant and hollow. A bolt of lightning tore through the sky, illuminating the churning waters. For a brief moment, the sea calmed, the storm holding its breath. And then, the world fell silent, an eerie, oppressive stillness that made every man aboard freeze. The storm rider seemed to hang in the void, the waves unnaturally still. "Captain," one of the crewmen began, his voice trembling. The water directly beneath the ship began to darken, a blackness that spread like spilled ink. The inky void grew, swallowing the light of the lightning and the pale moon. A low rumble echoed through the air, vibrating the very bones of the ship and the men upon it. And then it appeared. A single tentacle rose from the depths, impossibly large, its surface glistening with seawater and an oily sheen that caught the faint light. It swayed slowly, almost lazily, before slamming down onto the deck with the force of a hammer. The storm rider shuddered, and the men screamed. More tentacles followed, each one thicker and longer than the last, writhing and twisting as they encircled the ship. The beast was immense, its size defying comprehension. And then its eye emerged, breaking the surface of the water, a vast, unblinking orb that shimmered like a dying sun. But it was the eye's gaze that struck terror into Elias's heart. It wasn't just a beast staring back at him. It was something far older, far crueler. The Kraken was no mindless monster. It was an ancient, sentient horror that had been waiting for this moment. The voice came, not from the air, but from within Elias's skull, deep, resonant, and echoing with an eternity of malice. "You seek glory, Captain Elias," it said, the words curling in his mind like smoke. "You seek riches, but what you will find is only suffering." Elias clenched his jaw and drew his blade, the steel gleaming in the dim light. "I've faced death before," he growled. "You're nothing more than a beast." The Kraken's laughter was a terrible sound, a mix of thunder and the cries of the damned. "A beast? Is that what you tell yourself to quell your fear? Look closer, Captain." The water surged around the ship, rising in walls that trapped the storm rider like a fly in a jar. Elias saw them then, faces, dozens, no, hundreds of faces pressed against the Kraken's translucent skin. Men, women, even children. Their mouths opened in silent screams, their eyes wide with eternal despair. The crew fell into chaos, some dropping to their knees in prayer, others rushing to the lifeboats that would never save them. Elias stood frozen, his blade trembling in his hand as the Kraken's voice boomed once more. "I am no beast. I am a monument to the folly of man. Every soul that challenges me becomes part of me. Their pain feeds me. Their dreams sustain me. And now, Captain, you will join them." The Kraken struck. Its tentacles lashed out, shattering the masts, splintering the hull. Men were snatched from the deck, their screams cut short as they were dragged into the abyss. Elias fought with everything he had, slashing at the monstrous limbs, but it was like striking a mountain with a toothpick. One tentacle coiled around him, lifting him high above the deck. He stared into the Kraken's eye, his defiance wavering as he felt his strength ebbing away. The faces beneath the Kraken's skin pressed closer, their expressions twisting into something hungry, eager. Elias screamed as he was pulled beneath the waves. The cold enveloped him, a crushing, suffocating embrace. He felt the hands of the damned pulling at him, their whispers filling his mind with despair. And then the transformation began. His limbs stretched, his bones cracked, his flesh twisted and reshaped. He could feel the voices, the souls of the Kraken's victims, merging with his own, their torment becoming his. He was no longer Elias. He was part of something greater, something far more terrible. Above the waves, the sea calmed once more, the storm rider reduced to splinters. The Kraken sank back into the depths, waiting for the next ship, the next fool who dared to challenge it. In the darkness, the voices whispered, and among them, a new voice joined the chorus. It was Elias.